The American soldier freezes as movement flickers in the corner of his eye. His finger hovers above the trigger, his heart pounding. Squinting across the battlefield, he strains to make out the silhouette, an unarmed civilian, or so he thinks. He lets out a breath, but in the next few seconds, the battlefield will become his graveyard. Out of nowhere, the Chinese humanoid robot surges toward the American position, smoothly transitioning to all fours in one fluid motion. It's an apex predator in machine form. Like a cheetah stalking its prey, it closes the distance in seconds, too fast for the soldier's reflexes to even react. A metallic fist rockets upward at over 45 miles per hour, connecting with devastating force. The soldier crumples instantly. His comrades' horrified shouts cut short as the killbot tears through the squad. In under 20 seconds, the rest of the American troops are all wiped out, all without the robot firing a single round. Meet the Slaughterbots of the future, except this future isn't centuries away. These machines of destruction are coming to a battlefield sooner than you think, and they're poised to change warfare forever. It's 2 in the morning in Kursk Oblast, and the front lines are quiet for now. A Ukrainian National Guard unit braces itself, tasked with holding a 5-mile stretch of the front. The odds are against them. 2,000 Ukrainians stand against 6,000 Russians, outnumbered 3-1. But Ukraine has found a solution to its manpower problem. A mile behind the front line, soldiers unload large camouflaged boxes from trucks. Inside, a lethal arsenal awaits. American-provided and Ukrainian-made drones, each armed with a small but deadly warhead. Moments later, the swarm rises into the night. Above them, larger surveillance and attack drones prowl the skies, launched from even deeper behind the lines to orchestrate the assault. The drones are piloted remotely by Ukrainian personnel deep inside hardened bunkers or inside trenches. To counter Russian electronic warfare, larger mothership drones hover high above, acting as vital relays to maintain unbroken communications between operator and machine. With a menacing buzz, a lethal swarm climbs for altitude and rapidly heads off into the night. The Russians hear the high-pitched whine of the drone rotors seconds before chaos erupts. By the time the sound registers, it's already too late. The first wave of FPV drones slams into their positions with pinpoint accuracy, the explosions ripping through troops and equipment, leaving devastation in their wake. In a desperate bid to survive, Russian troops duck inside bunkers, but it isn't enough to save them. These drones are expertly piloted to twist and dive through narrow openings. Once inside, a blast fragmentation warhead ignites, turning the shelter into a death trap. And this is only phase 1 of the attack. Amid the confusion and the destruction caused by the drone swarm, few Russians will notice the new threat emerging from the darkness, resembling miniature tanks with treads. These ground assault drones are armed with an array of weapons, from heavy machine guns to grenade launchers. From 650 feet away, the first line of ground drones unleash their fury. Auto-stabilized machine guns rattle to life, sending streams of fire hammering Russian positions, while grenades burst overhead, raining deadly shrapnel onto the soldiers below. The few defenders spared by the FPV strikes fire back in desperation, but the armored chassis of the ground drones shrugs off small arms fire with ease. Even when a round penetrates the armor, the drones are much more resilient than any human, relentlessly pressing forward. And even when immobilized, the drones remain a deadly threat, their machine guns and grenade launchers still fully operational and ready to unload. The relentless assault is too much for the poorly trained and low-morale Russian soldiers to withstand. Most of them are conscripts from remote peasant villages, and they're seen as expendable. Thrust into the brutal reality of 21st century warfare, they face technology and tactics they are utterly unprepared for. The line shatters as panic sets in, and the Russian soldiers break rank and flee. Ukraine has just won the first all-drone battle in human history. When the Russo-Ukraine War began, Ukraine faced a massive manpower disadvantage against the overwhelming might of Russian forces. But the Ukrainians found a way to level the playing field, turning FPV drones from harmless hobby toys to deadly weapons of war. This drone revolution has reshaped the very nature of warfare, and militaries around the world are scrambling to adjust. No nations are pursuing Slaughterbot technology more aggressively than the United States and China, with some experts warning that a clash between the two powers is inevitable. For the United States, the rapid development of a killer drone technology is driven by the looming threat of a resurgent China. While America spent 2 decades focused on counterterrorism campaigns, China quietly embarked on a massive military buildup, reshaping itself into a global force to be reckoned with. In the 1990s, U.S. carrier strike groups could sail through the Taiwan Strait with impunity, flexing their unmatched naval power in dramatic shows of force. Back then, the Chinese generals openly admitted their fear, with one famously stating, "Nothing scares me more than an American carrier right off the coast of China." But by 2024, the balance of power had shifted. Any American ship attempting to move through the straits during open hostilities would face near certain annihilation. China's military buildup has focused on overwhelming U.S. forces with massive numbers of long-range missiles. Adding to this advantage, China's strategy is based on its ability to concentrate nearly all of its combat power in a conflict, while the U.S. must divide its forces across global commitments. This means that a fraction of the U.S. military would have to fight all of a rapidly modernizing and highly concentrated Chinese military. Enter the Replicator initiative and a killbot future. The U.S. finds itself outnumbered in nearly every category when facing the sheer scale of China's military. But the Replicator initiative aims to even the odds by fast-tracking the terrifying Slaughterbot future of tomorrow to today's battlefields. This ambitious initiative aims to deploy thousands of drones, flying, swimming, crawling, and driving. Its goal is to overwhelm Chinese forces with an unstoppable tidal wave of autonomous killer robots. The first phase of the Replicator initiative is to create the network capability, and then purchase thousands of small drones. One of the first deliveries to the U.S. military is the Switchblade loitering munition, which comes in two varieties, the 300 and the 600 model. The 300 model is an anti-personnel system meant to take on soldiers. Meanwhile, the 600 model can take out enemy armored vehicles by targeting their thinner roof armor or other vulnerable points. Both models have undergone rigorous combat testing in battlefields across the world. The Switchblade drone is equipped with wave-off capabilities, enabling operators to cancel an attack mid-flight and recommit at any point during its 20-minute operational window. This feature minimizes collateral damage, reducing civilian casualties while ensuring strikes hit at the most opportune moment. In heavily electronically denied environments, the Switchblade can switch to autonomous mode, using its onboard target recognition system to locate and destroy enemy vehicles independently. But the future of Slaughterбot technology comes in the form of Ghost X, an impressive piece of deadly drone technology already in service with the U.S. military. This helicopter drone features a single blade capable of lifting a 20-pound payload. It can be quickly assembled in a matter of minutes, and it has the capability of being operated remotely or set to autonomous mode. In autonomous mode, the drone's onboard computer handles all decisions relating to targeting and surveillance. This allows it to track and engage enemy targets, even in the face of electronic jamming or other interference. It's a drone designed specifically for a counter-drone environment. The Ghost X can be outfitted with a variety of payloads, making it a versatile tool on the battlefield. This includes a communications suite to extend the range of friendly communications or create resiliency in the face of enemy electronic warfare. An electromagnetic warfare suite allows it to disrupt enemy communications and interfere with other electronic systems. The drone can also be equipped with a laser target designator, which works in conjunction with smart artillery rounds or larger weapon systems such as strike aircraft. Additionally, its multiple racks can be loaded with everything from weapons to other smaller drones. Ghost X even fields a capability increasingly important amongst military drones: the ability to autonomously control other drones alongside it. This capability marks a significant step toward the unsettling future of autonomous warfare. A mothership drone could lead a combat mission alongside a swarm of drones, autonomously assigning tasks to each unit to ensure the mission's success. The C-100 UAS is another general-purpose drone purchased under the Replicator initiative. This drone is a general-use platform that can accommodate a variety of mission profiles, with the ability to carry a 21-pound load for 74 minutes. The drone is perfectly suited for last-mile logistics. In military terms, last-mile logistics refers to the final and often most dangerous transfer of supplies to frontline forces, a task that has only grown riskier with the complexities of modern warfare. Lessons learned in Ukraine show that last-mile logistics have become exponentially more dangerous than ever before, thanks to the proliferation of cheap drones. In Ukraine, military planners have adapted to the dangers of modern warfare by timing last-mile resupply runs at sunrise and sunset. These times create temperature inversions that disrupt the thermal optics of enemy drones, reducing the risk of detection. Unlike the large trucks commonly used in conflicts like Iraq and Afghanistan, Ukrainian forces rely on smaller, more agile vehicles such as pickup trucks or even pushcarts for the final leg of supply delivery. The constant threat of enemy drones makes deploying larger vehicles far too dangerous. But aerial or even ground drones can provide critical last-mile logistics and even resupply to forces under fire without risk associated with manned operations. 21 pounds may not seem like a lot, but a speedy drone could deliver 3 100-round bandoliers for the M240B machine gun per run with just one drone. These drones, however, may be bringing something even more important than ammunition to America's next war. A number of startups are pursuing drone technology for one of war's greatest needs: blood. No, as metal as it would be, drones are not going out to gather blood from enemies to appease their overlords. Instead, drones are being used to deliver blood to combat troops, even in the middle of a firefight. Rapid blood transfusions are proven to exponentially increase survival rates, and drones have already demonstrated the ability to autonomously deliver medical supplies at a higher speed under simulated combat conditions. But before the age of Slaughterbots arrives, there's one critical innovation in anti-Slaughterbot drone development: the rise of new drone aerial medevac vehicles. Drone manufacturer Avalis is working on a large rescue drone that can fly to pick up casualties on the front lines. The drone can be remotely piloted or fly autonomously, with an internal bay large enough to carry a combat casualty. Once secured, the wounded are whisked back to friendly lines for higher-level care, which beats early attempts at the concept, which were often little more than airborne stretchers, which naturally presents a significant number of risks to the unprotected patient. China, however, has not been resting on its laurels. In fact, in December 2024, China launched the world's first drone carrier. Technically an amphibious assault ship, China's Type 076 features a large flight deck complete with catapult. China lacks vertical takeoff and landing aircraft to support amphibious operations and appears to be pivoting toward a drone-centric future, with the Type 76 taking on this critical role. The ship is likely to be equipped with the GJ-11 unmanned combat aircraft, highlighting China's shift toward autonomous warfare. GJ-11 is a large, stealthy drone with dual internal weapons bays. It's believed that the drone will be used to carry out precision strikes in high-threat environments, perfectly suited for a war over Taiwan. Computer-generated images depict the GJ-11 flying alongside the manned J-20 stealth fighter. It's believed that China plans to eventually have the GJ-11 accompany manned aircraft similar to America's Loyal Wingman project. We've covered the air pretty extensively, but what about killer robots on the ground and at sea? Both China and the US are pursuing unmanned weapon systems that operate both above and below the waves. The United States is doubling down on this capability to address its numerical disadvantage against the much larger Chinese Navy. Leading this effort is the Ghost Fleet Overlord program. Its goal is to permanently shift the balance of power in the Pacific by augmenting the US Navy's manned fleet with up to one-third as many unmanned vehicles. Two key components of the project are large and medium unmanned vessels, designed to create warships with capabilities approaching those of fully manned ships. Those drone arsenal ships would operate alongside traditional fleet vessels and augment their striking power. This has huge appeal for one specific reason: the Navy is increasingly finding it doesn't have enough space for missiles on its warships. Currently, the US has 8,400 vertical launch cells across its entire fleet, versus China's 4,300. However, not every US ship can be deployed to a war in the Pacific, and China builds approximately 30 warships a year across its many shipyards, versus America's 6. It's a numbers game that the US is set to catastrophically lose. The added swarms of Chinese anti-ship missiles is complicating matters when it comes to available interceptors. Flights 1 and 2 Arleigh Burke destroyers are equipped with 90 vertical launch system or VLS cells, while newer block variants boast 96. While this outnumbers the missile capacity of most Chinese ships, it's not enough to stop repeated swarming attacks, especially because not every missile in a launch cell is going to be an air defense missile. To tackle its missile shortage, the Navy is exploring the ability to resupply VLS cells while underway, a highly challenging task traditionally done in calm port waters. The idea of a crane swinging a 12-foot missile with a high-explosive warhead over the deck of a moving ship in rough seas is every sailor's nightmare. However, if mastered, this capability would allow the Navy ships to remain in the fight longer, without needing to return to port for resupply. The second answer is to just bring more missiles to the fight directly. This is where large and medium unmanned arsenal ships are conceptualized to cruise alongside manned ships and engage targets for them. These vessels could even range out ahead of the fleet in more open and dangerous waters, spotting submarines and taking hits for the manned fleet. It's a good plan, but it might be scrapped completely. Rear Admiral William Daley, head of the Navy's Surface Warfare Division, recently announced a complete refocusing of the Navy's Ghost Fleet program. Eyeing an imminent conflict with China, the Navy is ditching plans for a large, exquisite high-end ship that mirrors the capabilities of manned ships and instead is focusing on smaller, simpler craft. The optionally crewed future needs to arrive sooner, Daley stated, and that means switching gears or designing smaller, cheaper, and faster-to-produce vessels. The Navy plans to abandon its 300-foot large surface and air defense combatant drone ship designs and instead focus on building a fleet of 200-foot, medium-sized drone ships. The ships will come with containerized payloads of two varieties: anti-surface, anti-air, and ISR, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. They would have payloads attached to them as needed, making them far more flexible than manned ships, and crucially, it would allow them to be built by different manufacturers, speeding along production. In order to deny the enemy an intelligence advantage, all payload containers are designed to look identical. This forces an adversary to guess whether they're dealing with a threat or merely a scout ship conducting recon. The biggest hurdle at the moment is figuring out how to integrate as many as 157 unmanned surface vehicles, or USVs, into existing fleets, how to utilize them exactly, and where to homeport them. However, with the threat of a war with China looming over the Navy, it's clear the need is critical and imminent. On the ground, the U.S. Army is planning on incorporating unmanned ground combat vehicles. It has several contenders for the role. One of these is General Dynamics TRX, a large tracked drone that carries a short-range air defense payload. It'll be deployed alongside manned vehicles to tackle the threat posed by aerial threats, like helicopters and enemy drones. Plans for the TRX include equipping it with its own complement of drones, capable of launching swarms against enemy targets. General Dynamics also envisions using the TRX chassis to develop further variants for electronic warfare, counter-electronic warfare, battlefield engineering in extreme conditions, and autonomous resupply. The Wolf-X system is a medium-sized unmanned armored vehicle that can be airlifted by a Chinook helicopter directly into a combat zone. Armed with a Mark 44 30mm chain gun, Wolf-X is designed to provide support to light infantry forces with high mobility. If prototype testing is successful, it has the potential to become a major player in airborne and air assault operations. Another advancement in Slaughterbot technology is Ripsaw, a modular remote control vehicle that can be delivered by Chinook wherever it's needed. Its distinctive flat-top design allows for installation of various modules, offering U.S. forces unmatched flexibility compared to manned vehicles. With over 2,000 miles logged in durability testing, the Ripsaw's performance has shown significant promise. Among the armored vehicles sent to Ukraine, America's Bradley tank has emerged a clear favorite. It offers incredible survivability, capable of protecting its crew even after taking a hit from an anti-armor missile. It also delivers mobile lethality. Its successor, the XM-30, is currently in development and will feature optional manned capabilities. Fully autonomous XM-30s are envisioned working alongside manned formations, handling high-risk tasks such as scouting or engaging enemy armor ahead of manned vehicles. However, at launch, the XM-30 will still require a crew. Unlike the Bradley it replaces, the XM-30 will operate with 2 crew members and a virtual assistant. This virtual crew member will be responsible for scanning, tracking, and even engaging threats, leaving the commander and driver free to focus on other tasks. Alongside other global efforts, these are the cutting-edge vehicles slated to join the armed forces worldwide. But what awaits humanity over the next 10 and 50 years? By 2035, autonomous vehicles are expected to become integral to military forces at every level. Infantry units will gain unprecedented support with the ability to launch small anti-personnel and anti-vehicle drones at the platoon level. The U.S. Army is already considering a new drone specialist role to integrate this capability. With organic drone support, infantry will be able to respond to enemy threats instantly, rather than waiting for attached units to move into position and be briefed on the threat. Advancements in automated technology could bring drone support down to the individual squad level. Instead of carrying standard grenades into battle, one squad member could be equipped with several smaller, lightweight drones for rapid deployment. These drones could deliver small fragmentation warheads, conduct reconnaissance missions, and even return to their user if unused. Wearable technology could allow for the recharging of drones by tapping into the kinetic energy generated by a soldier's movements, significantly extending battery life. At the large scale, drone vehicles will quickly begin to replace crewed variants, especially in jobs that don't require as sophisticated autonomy. Artillery is an ideal role for unmanned ground vehicles as they don't require complex programming needed by frontline vehicles to detect threats or minimize civilian collateral damage. Similarly, transportation and logistics are well suited for drones, which can operate in a follow-the-leader configuration alongside manned vehicles. In the air, fighter jets like the J-20 and the F-35 will be accompanied by cheap, attritable, loyal wingman drones. With a target cost of around $3 million, these high-performance expendable drones will carry out attacks in highly contested environments, flying out ahead of manned strike packages to disrupt enemy air defenses or act as decoys. At sea, navies around the world will see an increased adoption of smaller unmanned vessels. The United States will likely field the largest fleet of large unmanned vessels, potentially making a full one-third of the U.S. Navy fully autonomous. As technology advances, the size and complexity of these drone ships will continue to grow. Eventually, fully automated combat vessels the size of current destroyers will be fighting alongside their manned counterparts. In 50 years is when things get really interesting. Advances in artificial technology will revolutionize drone technology. At the individual level, every soldier will be equipped with a virtual assistant embedded in wearable sensors woven into the uniform, helmet, armor, and weapon. These systems will alert soldiers to threats, correct their aim, and even administer life-saving drugs in the critical moments of a medical emergency. Human soldiers will only make up a part of the average infantry platoon, which will increasingly rely on automated drones. The assault drones will come in a variety of shapes and sizes, but nature has already developed an optimum shape for traversing difficult terrain at high speed. That means future assault drones will likely be humanoid, but will have the ability to shift from between a two-legged stance and a four-legged configuration for high-speed mobility. As human cities continue to grow and expand, future combat will likely take place in heavily urbanized areas. Direct contact with civilians will be an everyday part of the future infantry. To ease tensions, assault drones will need to retain human characteristics like bipedal walking. In urban settings, bipedalism will be advantageous for climbing or navigating complex environments. However, future assault drones will retain the ability to transition between both modes as the situation requires. A future infantry platoon could consist of a 50-50 split between humans and drones. If this seems far-fetched to you, consider that every single first-world military in the world has been facing a recruitment crisis for over a decade. As standards of living improve and society becomes wealthier, less and less people are interested in military service. Some nations, such as Japan, are also saddled with the second curse of first-world prosperity, a crashing birth rate. Japanese military officials are already looking to drone technology to offset the shrinking size of their military. Advancements in miniaturization will make small drones both more popular and increasingly deadly. Tiny drones capable of squeezing through tight gaps could be outfitted with everything from micro-explosive charges, lethal when striking critical areas of the human body. They could also deliver toxins via a sting, mimicking the behavior of an insect. In fact, America's Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency has long been working on drones that resemble insects to carry out surveillance and intelligence gathering. As drone and automation technology becomes more advanced, the threats posed by non-state actors grows. Future terrorists could assemble swarms of weaponized drones, combining civilian hobby drones with homemade explosives. This threat is already a national security concern, with the U.S. employing anti-drone technology at any event the U.S. president attends. As advancements in drone technology accelerates, the rise of Slaughterbots feels less like science fiction and more like an inevitable reality. These machines will reshape the battlefield, offering precision and efficiency. The race is on, and the decisions made today will define the role these machines play in the wars of tomorrow. What do you think about the rise of Slaughterbots? Are they the future of warfare or a threat to humans everywhere? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Now go check out the US military's new robot that will change war forever, or click this other video instead.